Well, I hope everybody can connect. I tell you, that test run really underlined the digital divide that seniors and low-income people have.
Yeah.
Well, hopefully everybody will be able to get on and say their piece.
Yeah. Oh God. Okay. So where am I? Here I go. So we are live streaming now, just FYI.
Okay.
And I should probably, Jesus, nobody from the committee on the, Robert's here, but the chairs aren't here.
Well, it's not 6:30 yet, so.
No, I guess not. I was sort of hoping the federal aid folks, the TA presidents, would try to log in early since they all had problems.
Yep. We're starting, I urged our staff summit, we're having a staff conference in lieu of being able to get together over Zoom. So I said, we need to start a half hour early to get through all the technical difficulties before we officially start.
Yep.
Did you have another speaker to talk about NYCHA-related issues? Going to be part of the agenda?
Not that I know of.
Oh, okay. I thought I saw somebody listed somewhere, but.
Yeah, I'm not sure. My inbox is filling up with people who want to be heard on the, oh, anyway. So it's a little hard to access my email right now.
Yeah.
Where is everybody?
Oh, there's Melissa. Hey, Melissa.
Hi, Larry. How are you?
Good.
We are live streaming and I'm going to start the recording too, so I can, because there might be people in the attendees who need to be promoted, so I'll start doing that now. I know that you don't have the quorum yet. Do you guys have somebody you picked out to do minutes?
I usually do some intense multitasking, but it's
Okay.
a little bit harder today.
However you want to do it.
I alerted Mark that it was just a coincidence, but the DA's office and the local police precincts, actually the commissioner has convened a meeting of NYCHA leaders from Manhattan South. That was a meeting started at 4:30.
Oh, today?
So that included some of the federal aid folks. So they're going to have to be coming back home from down at Police Plaza. That includes Margarita from Amsterdam, Cynthia. So there's a possibility some of our federal aid folks might be running late accordingly.
Okay.
Let's see, Polly joined us.
Hi, good evening, everyone. How are you?
Hi, Polly.
Hi,
Sylvia.
Mark. How you doing?
Hi, Sylvia.
I was just mentioning that there was that meeting down at the One Police Plaza for some of the leaders who might be running late.
I think I saw Councilmember Rosenthal for a moment.
Yeah, I see
Who's
Helen
there?
here.
What was the subject of the meeting?
Crime and safety.
Hi.
It was
Okay.
following up on a meeting that the DA's office had up at Frederick Douglass, I guess 2 months or so ago. So it was a follow-up to that. So I understand that folks from Frederick Douglass was there. Polly, do you know who else was down there? I think it was 10 leaders I heard.
Well, I know I had gotten an email from Vladik to attend. Carmen had called me as well. So I can't really confirm who attended. But basically, it's just about police reform. You know, the governor requested that there be community feedback. So basically, that's, the topic of the meeting and the discussion. Is just a forum for everyone to give feedback. So they had different dates for different groups. It was my understanding that 40 individuals were physically invited to attend at police headquarters, but then there will be several virtual meetings for all of the 9 council districts through Zoom. So I know that a few resident leaders did not want to be in a room with 40 individuals, so they preferred to participate online.
Yeah.
So
I
as
just
far
sent
as I
around
know-
today the link for that, by the way. I sent around the link for
Yeah.
the virtual meeting.
Right, there's several links and emails going out about the meetings that are being held at police headquarters. I know I saw Mona Lisa yesterday, and she said she would be here this evening for
I see
our CB7 meeting.
Sylvia's on.
Hi, Sylvia, how are
Hi,
you?
Polly. I'm good, thank you.
Okay, I think we have a quorum from the committee. So I'm going to kick us off, and then, as folks join, especially our NYCHA tenant leaders, that'll be great. Just so to start us off, I'm Melissa Rosenberg. I'm co-chair of CB7's Housing Committee meeting. I'm joined by my co-chair, Louisa Craddock, and it looks like, I don't know if Madeline Innocent, who chairs our NYCHA task force, might be stuck still poll working because of the intense interest in early voting, which is fantastic. So tonight we're joined by a number of NYCHA tenant leaders in our community district to hear from them a bit about what's going on at each development, as well as any issues or needs they want to raise, and to discuss ways that we can be helpful and just talking through issues or elevating them. And I also just want to start us off with a few ground rules. We are all colleagues and neighbors, so I would appreciate if we can all speak to each other with respect, and try not to interrupt each other or use disrespectful language. I'm going to hand it over to our NYCHA TA leaders. We're going to kind of run through our agenda, which is focused on the issues in NYCHA developments in our district. At the end of the meeting, we'll open it up to the public if people wish to speak. I ask that if you do wish to speak, you please keep it to the specific topic of tonight's meeting, which is public housing in Community District 7. And if you're here to speak on another issue, I'd ask that you please hold your comments until the appropriate committee or full board meeting of Community District 7. So with that,
Melissa, can I jump in and just amplify that for one quick second?
yeah, sure, Mark.
Thanks. Because I see some folks in the attendees, and of course, we welcome your thoughts about NYCHA and public housing and all those issues. But I'm suspecting that perhaps some of you are here for a different issue, and this is not the meeting for that issue. Probably the right meeting will be the full board or the budget. The community boards are required to have a budget hearing at some point before we vote on the budget priorities. That's going to be next Wednesday at 5:30 to 6:30, and then we'll have the full board meeting at 6:30, and there'll be an opportunity for public comment there. So if you want to be heard on any of the budget priorities prior to the vote on them, those are your opportunities. That said, there are 100 people signed up for this meeting. That's probably more than we can ever hear in one meeting. But we will do our best to get to as many folks as we possibly can. And I'll continue to work with the leaders of groups who identify themselves as interested in those issues. But again, this is not the meeting to talk about the budget priorities. This is a meeting that's long been scheduled with our tenant association presidents from the NYCHA developments to hear from them directly about their needs and how we can try to marshal resources to meet them. So with that, I'll give it back to the chairs with thanks for everybody who's coming, and an advice to look at our website to make sure that we, when we schedule those meetings, you'll be able to find, how to access them and to be a part of that discussion. Thank you.
And I invite you all to, whether or not you came about this issue, to stick around and listen, because you might, meet some people you wouldn't have otherwise, or learn about a topic you might not have otherwise. Also, just want to thank our elected officials and representatives who joined us. Councilmember Rosenthal's in attendance. I see Hannah from Representative Nadler's office, Suad from State Senator Serrano's office. Not sure who else I'm missing. Eric from Councilmember Mark Levine's office. And then, of course, thank you, Larry Wood from Goddard Riverside, who's always a helpful housing guru. Louisa, do you want to say anything before we hand it over to our NYCHA TA presidents to kick us off?
No, I think that was good.
Great. Okay. Mark, as the person who issued the invites, we could start with Cynthia. I feel like Cynthia's at many of our meetings and would be happy to give us a quick update. Oh, and sorry, Hope K from State Senator Jackson's office. Thanks, Hope. Cynthia, do you want to kick us off?
Yeah, so we're running late. We were at a meeting at One Police Plaza. That's why Carmen will be on, Ernesto. We're all just now
Great.
getting back. That's why we're running a little late.
No worries.
Cynthia, does Carmen have the link? Because she wasn't on my list.
I sent her the regular CB7 registration, and she registered from the bar. So
Very good. Very good. Oh, there she is.
See, we're all getting back. So where are we? What do you want me to kick it off with?
Just a brief update of just whatever is going on at your development that you think is important for us to know, any issues you wanted to flag or discuss with us. I know when we last spoke, we spoke a lot about the PACT program, so I understand that there are some updates around that you might want to discuss.
Yes, there are. All right, so first of all, let's start with the fact that I currently have 11 brownstones without gas since last Sunday. So that's one major issue over at the brownstones. We are once again faced with no gas. This happened in 2018, the week before Thanksgiving. They never got the gas back until 2 days before Thanksgiving. It was out an entire year. And that was with 4 buildings. And now we have 11 out. So once again, I don't expect the gas to be resolved anytime soon.
Cynthia, quick question. Sorry to jump in, but just quick question. We've been hounding NYCHA since I think Thursday or Friday. Have they even spoken to you or gotten back to you with any information?
They're communicating. They said that they're waiting on a vendor to be approved. Again, that has to go through mixed finance. That's Carl Walton. And dealing with him is like pulling teeth. It's very frustrating, this man, but we have to get a vendor first. And then there are many cracks. The main line to all 11 buildings has a crack. So the main line that runs from 22 to 42 in the middle of 36, there's a crack in the line. There's a crack in 36. There's cracks in building 40. So, you have to first deal with the asbestos around the pipes. Then you have to deal with the cracks themselves. None of this is going to be dealt with until they actually get a vendor.
Okay. Thank you for that update. Sorry to take a little time there.
Problem.
Thank you, Cynthia.
Yep, we're going to need turkeys next year, Helen. We're going to need turkeys again. But, it depends. It takes a long time to get gas on. But when you have mixed finance acting director who is very difficult to work with and communicate with, it makes the matter even harder. Also, as far as Ernesto, he should be getting on soon. Yeah, they did meet with PRC this week.
Hi.
They had a meeting with.
Hi.
Hello.
Hi, it's me, Mona. I'm here.
They did have a meeting with PRC, and PRC wants to hurry up and get the leases signed. So they're more focused on that, but they have people in the building. They have one woman who hasn't had a sink in her apartment in 6 months. Ernesto himself is controlling a massive flood. from a tenant above him that has now leaked on him and underneath him. And he is very frustrated that management is ignoring him. He actually flipped out on the superintendent regarding the situation over there and getting some results done. And that's not happening. So Wise is going through a lot. There's some more concern with getting PAC leases signed than they are with getting apartments up to code so the PAC can even go through.
Mhm.
Anything else?
No, that was helpful. Polly, do you want to?
Larry, you had your hand up?
When it's my turn, I was going to give a little overview of the whole, all of the numbers to try to put it in context, because you're going to be hearing from at least one of the resident leaders from hopefully each development, if they can all get online. Anyway, I work at Goddard Riverside. I've been there 33 years. A lot of my work has been with rent-regulated tenants and SRO tenants. But I've also done a lot of work with the so-called Federal 8, which is a name that a number of the NYCHA leaders have taken for the developments. And just to help bring people together for mutual aid and support, Goddard Riverside has been working with the leaders to help facilitate just communications and for mutual aid and support. Just for context, we have over 4,000 buildings in Community Board 7, 131,000, residential units. 5% of them are public housing. 22 properties have about 6,000 units here in Community Board 7. And people probably know where they are. We have a group, Amsterdam Houses and Amsterdam Edition is down by Lincoln Square. And that's where Goddard Riverside at Lincoln Square is now located. We merged with Lincoln Square Neighborhood Association. Then you have Weiss Towers and a variety of buildings around in the West 80s and 90s. You just heard from Cynthia. She made reference to the WSUR, the West Side Urban Renewal Brownstones. That's a collection of 36 buildings. They're all walk-ups. And they're old buildings and they have a lot of issues. But collectively, that's 370 units in the WSUR Brownstones. And then the other big chunk of public housing is Frederick Douglass and a mix of other buildings. And that's between 100 and 105th Street. And, going back to Ronald Reagan, HUD and his cutting the national budget for producing housing and for maintaining it, public housing has been under assault for decades. And there's been a lot of abandonment and demolition across the country. And in my talking with NYCHA residents over the decades, that fear of gentrification and displacement and privatization runs deep. And there's always a lot of suspicion when new programs come up, what it would mean. Everybody wants their buildings renovated and maintained, but there's always been a lot of concern and mistrust and fear of displacement and privatization. And the issues that you're going to be hearing is crime and safety has been a big issue in the communities. Obviously repairs. The fact that the federal government has largely abandoned NYCHA of public housing, as well as the state. Wise Towers, which is going through the RAD conversion now, was built with state capital money and state operating money. Governor Pataki cut all the operating money, so the public housing the state used to run was abandoned. So NYCHA is now the federal buildings built with the federal money, the state money, and they have far fewer resources to keep those buildings maintained, which has led to the current state where there's $40 billion in backlog capital improvements and overcrowding and a lot of issues within NYCHA. So that's just a little context. And Goddard Riverside is committed to keeping these buildings and keeping affordable housing on the west side, whether it's rent regulated, SROs, or NYCHA. We think it's vitally important to maintain the cultural economic diversity of this community.
That was extremely helpful, Larry. I should have let you kick us off. Thank you.
No, it's fine. So I'm going to mute myself and hear from my friends.
Okay, so basically, Larry, I know you spoke about us meeting together as a group. So the Federal Aid basically is a group of NYCHA buildings who were federally funded. So that's why we started out with that name Federal Aid, because of the 8 complexes here on the Upper West Side. So we have been meeting with God at Riverside and with Larry. I just want to thank you for being supportive and, having discussions with us on how we can work together, to resolve some of the issues that we're dealing with right now. Yes, Weiss Towers is going through a transition. So I do know that Cynthia and I believe Ernesto, who is the president at Weiss Towers, if he gets online, he wants to speak to those issues. So I'm not going to take up time talking about that because that's something very serious that, needs to be addressed. Okay. In addition to that, we have Ramona Minor online, who's online by phone from the hostel. So I might want to give her the floor so that she can speak to issues going on in her building right now. And we also have Mona Lisa from the Dome site who's online. So I rather give the time to them and then I'll speak after they're finished.
Thanks.
Good afternoon.
So I know, yeah.
Oh,
Yep, we hear you.
Go ahead, Ramona.
That's
Okay.
Ernesto.
yes. Okay. Good afternoon. Ramona Minor from the hostos. How are you?
Good.
The issue here is just about basically the same thing that Larry has covered. It has been very stressful for me for the last few months. They were supposed to be fixing my TA room. That never happened. They cut wires that have to be installed from downstairs, and I have to get permission from Carl Walton before that exists, when he is the one that told me the room would be fixed a couple months ago. So it's been very stressful dealing with that because we really don't have a place where the board can sit down and come together. And it's getting cold, and we do things for our kids during the holidays, so I'm hoping that after they finish fixing their room, that maybe they'll get to the TA room.
Great, thank
What
you.
other things you have going in your building that's not correct?
There's a whole bunch of things that's going on in the building that's not correct. The safety issues where people can just get into the building, and I actually was going down a staircase one day, and some strange person was coming up, no mask. So I went down the other staircase when I seen him coming. It should be some kind of way that they secure the back door as well, and make sure nobody's in the roof. There's a lot of graffiti, so we already know that this wasn't happening before, especially in the hostels. But now the hallways are full, the elevators, of graffiti.
Ramona, what about your front entrance door?
Well, as soon as it seems like somebody's getting ready, it gets loose or whatever, I always put a ticket in to try to keep it working.
Anything else you want to let us know
No.
about?
No, thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Can Ramona, I'm sorry. Melissa.
Hi, how are you?
It's good to hear your voice, Ramona.
Always, always.
Yeah, the graffiti definitely sounds new.
Yeah, so it wasn't like that before. Actually, there were tenants moved into the building that we were not aware of, and a lot of things begin to change.
All right.
Have a lot of new people moving in. We don't know who's who. Sometimes you just got to sit there and kind of, it's a lot of new people in this building, believe me.
Do you think transfers, or, I mean, by new, do you mean, there are always people coming out, in and out, no?
No, these are people that were put in these apartments that we have here. So it's, some apartments need to be done. They're not being done, and That's also an issue because they've been sitting for years, and I'm quite sure they've been to court about it, but nothing is being done.
You mean they're just sitting empty, not renovated?
Exactly. Along with the people that moved in, that the TA presidents used to have a list so we could kind of get to know the neighbors, and we're not able to do that. We haven't had a list in a long time.
Is that true for all the TA leaders? Is that a new thing that's happening, Polly, Cynthia?
Management's no longer giving us access to the list of the names of the tenants, neither the new ones or the current existing ones. They've stopped that altogether. They're also not filling the apartments. A lot of the vacant apartments are staying vacant, which is not filling them, especially in Wise Towers.
Okay, thank you.
Well, Helen, you remember that the door, because we went through that process at the hostel, so it's supposed
I
to be a
mean,
layered.
I'm sick. I'm sick hearing.
Yeah.
It's, I mean, we have spent so much money on that friggin' door, and they don't fix it well enough so that it's not just broken the next day.
Exactly.
Right. And one of the things that I want to bring up, because Wise Towers is going through a transition, management will be moving over to the hostels, right? So that physical space. And, Ramona has lost half of her meeting room because she had to turn it over to management, okay? So that's the other issue that's going on at the hostels.
I did not realize that.
Yeah. So right now, that's a dilemma, because once, Wise Towers transition is finalized and management moves over to that space, there's other issues that will cause a domino effect, okay? Such as having access to our files, recertification issues. A lot of residents have not received any leases. So, everything's up in the air right now. So we really do need to sit down and, have some dialogue with management and determine what is that going to look like once Wise Towers finalizes their transition. Because as far as I know, there's a timeline where they're saying that leases must be signed by November of this year. So,
for Wise.
This is something. Yeah. So how will that impact the Wasuras? Right. Like Jack's building, my building, the hostels, 589, etc. Jack is not here right now, but he did ask me to speak about his elevator situation. But I'm going to hold off, and because I know Mona Lisa's on the line.
Okay.
And yeah,
So,
you're welcome.
Joined us too. I see him now.
Yeah.
From Wise.
Mona Lisa, why don't you go next, if you don't mind?
Hi, everyone. I hope everyone's been well, you and your family. Well, one of the things that I want to talk about with the dome site, we're really having a bad rodent problem. The apartment's getting infested, construction on the buildings next door. I mean, the rats back and forward during the day, during the night, especially. And the apartment's getting so infested that it's affecting our stoves, for cooking. I had to have mine replaced because it was so infested. I mean, I think I catch one or a few every day here. Those are the things that I wanted to speak about, and let you guys know that it's affecting our development, the rodent problems, really bad, and the management is not really. They have a guy come out with stickers, and that's it. That's all I know from the exterminator. We have a Kraus management overseeing our development. They're not our landlord. They just oversee. We've been under that for about 20 years now or more. We've been here 24 years since the building opened. And we have scaffolding. I don't see any permits. Only half of the building was done. Apparently, Victor knows about this because he's been trying to help me with this as well. Apparently, the management that's overseeing the development claims that they didn't know that they put up scaffolding. So NYCHA is not communicating with us to let us know about any business going on to do the brickwork. I mean, we want things to improve in the development, yeah, but we would like to be notified.
Right.
And those are the biggest things that we have. If we see them once in a blue moon, ever since the COVID, nobody's been in that office since March.
Yeah.
So we're basically alone. They do have those people that come 3 times during the week to disinfect for the COVID. I don't know who's overseeing them because I don't, from NYCHA.
No one.
Who comes?
No one.
Okay, and then there's the mold and mildew that, I think all NYCHA tenants have been having that problem throughout New York City Housing Authority. But this building is 24 years old, and we've been having a lot of problems with it. We've been having a lot of problems with leakage, electrical problems. I've had the boiler broke down here like twice. My whole apartment got messed up. And it goes on and on. So those are the type of things, and the repair tickets, things don't get done. And Sylvia Rivera, who also sits on my board, and she's with me, we're mano a mano together with the development for everything. Sylvia Rivera, La Prince. So that's what I wanted to share with you. These are the concerns that we have. And yes, I sit with the federal aid. We've been doing this for quite more than 10 years. We support each development. And I worry about Wise Towers too. And they do have a lot of empty apartments that are not on the rent roll. People need homes, and this is not going on.
Well, that's what I'm here for, to speak on that, to speak on all those situations about development, because there are some things. I just had a fight with them. I got everybody mad at me because...
Introduce yourself, Ernesto.
Yeah, wait.
I'm sorry. My name is Ernesto Carrera. I'm the RA at Wise Towers. And how you doing, Larry? Thank you for that. And there's just so many problems at Wise with the conversion. Nobody really knows when this conversion is going to go down. They keep saying, oh, we're going to do it in November. Oh, we're going to do it in December. Oh, maybe January. They're not really, because of the COVID and the things that are going on, they don't really know. But yet they want us to sign these leases, these new leases, right? I just had a fight with them. A young lady had a broken pipe in her kitchen. So thankfully they found the problem. They found the problem right away. But this was a month ago. So I told them I was going to call Helen's office. I was going to call Gail's office. I was going to get all hands on deck. And, they were very upset with me, but I did so anyway because it shouldn't take a month if you find the problem. Why would it take a month? So in my apartment, all my tile is coming up in the kitchen. I'm being attacked by gnats and flies everywhere, as are the rest of the apartments from 6 on down. It should not take a month to get that squared away. You have to prioritize what's an emergency and what isn't. And they can't keep throwing things on top of the RAD BRC because they've not taken over yet. So, it's just a number of problems. And thankfully for Helen, And Gail and people like Larry Wood, who has stepped up for us and advocated for us and helped us out. It would be a whole lot worse if these guys weren't able to back us up. But the problems are crazy. I hear about what's going on in all the developments, and it's a darn shame. My fear is that within the next 20 years, NYCHA is not going to exist as we know it.
Yeah.
And that's my fear. You know, we got people, you know, me and Victor Gonzalez, we go back over 40 years. Everything that I learned from NYCHA, I basically learned from him. But now he's with the CB7, so I hang out with Cynthia Tibbs, that's my buddy, and she's very knowledgeable, and I learned a lot from her. But it's a joke what these people are doing to the tenants in NYCHA, especially
Can I interrupt just one more, just to give two more things, and
go
then
ahead,
you
go ahead,
can go
please,
on.
go ahead,
They're
go
quick.
ahead, go ahead,
Another
go ahead.
thing is that at night here, and I know I should probably bring this up at another meeting, I'm not sure. The lighting in this block as well. The building that's on the corner where like 154, 56, 60, 62, I don't know if it's 164 or what. There's like no light through there. So, you know, it's very dangerous at night to even walk from the corner going toward Brandeis of Amsterdam. It's horrible. I mean, pitch black. There's like no lighting in that building, even the business that has the beauty parlor that's connected to that building. And a lot of the rodent problems are coming from those buildings that are next to us, which is 160, I believe, and 162. People working on the building over there, and we're getting, like I said, a lot of the rodent problems, and inside the apartments as well. Besides that, the issues with dogs. Nobody's picking up after. They come to this block, but they don't do it in front of their own. That's it for right now. I think I said enough, but.
So just to ask a quick follow-up question. 160, 162, are those are just privately owned buildings that are?
Yes.
Okay, neighboring
They're not
buildings.
NYCHA developments.
Okay. Have you ever reached out to the building?
Yeah, I've even
owner?
spoken with the super next door. He just, you know, the way they do their garbage too, it's like horrible.
And they just haven't.
Sometimes they dump garbage where in front of my building, you know, items that don't even belong to this building. I caught them one time, even and the super put it right back in front of theirs. You know, we're gonna get they're gonna get the ticket. You know, I have to say that we do have good maintenance here, thank God.
Mm-hmm.
And we take care of our building. It's very clean, but it's rotting. It's rotten on the inside and the walls. I tell you, with the leakage, the mold, and the rodents, you could hear them in the walls, and the electrical problems that we have here. And the foundation of the building cracking. So, and like I said, they've got scaffolding out there, only on half of the building. I don't see any permits on the side or anything. And we're worried about that. And some gate that they put in front of some fence they put on the side of one of the gates on the west side of the development here. So they don't tell us anything. They're like up in the air, and now I know that they don't communicate with us about anything.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
I have to really complain to this one and that one, and then I start getting calls.
Right. And so you
We only have 35 units here. This is a 35 unit development, and if it wasn't for the good tenants that live here, because we take care of ourselves,
right?
You know, and we take care of each other, and I advocate for everything for them, and then some. The people on the outside.
Yeah. Well, thanks for
Wow.
your hard work, even if management is not, living up to their task. Sorry, and you guys were never
Wow.
informed why the scaffolding was erected, and you're not aware of any work being done on the outside of the building?
Exactly, and it's been there, it's already like a year, it's gonna be half of it there.
Okay.
Wow.
Someone came to the building and they were put some ladder, like to go from the roof down with the ropes. And this was like at 2:00 in the afternoon. I took a picture. That was on August 26th. And the management says that they didn't know anything about that.
No.
The super didn't know. Nobody knew anything. These people just coming in here. I don't know. Is it because of the building next door? Is it they're using it to make it easier for them to work over there? I don't have the faintest idea. Something is not going right, and there might be something illegal going on.
Right.
If NYCHA's not aware, and neither is the management.
If there is work next door, they have to extend the scaffolding, I think, at least 10 feet in front of your building to protect it. It's very annoying, but that's it. What I don't
Maybe that's it,
understand,
but they didn't communicate with us at all.
that's what I don't understand. It should be simple.
So we should hear from some of the other buildings. There's a lot in each site almost.
Okay.
Maybe
It's
Carmen?
dangerous, you know? One time they had a bunch of the pipes there, and this was in the winter time, in the evening, like in November or something like that. And they had these pipes down. We almost tripped over them. I don't know if they fell and they were in front of the building. I know that the fire department came after or whatever, and I think they might have gotten a fine, and then they stopped working. Trying to come in the building, and it was nighttime after 6:30.
Okay, just to get some of the other leaders also.
Okay, so I have no more to say. Thank you for listening to me.
Thank you so much. And I want to kind of return to the bigger issues after we hear
Yeah.
from everyone and discuss what we can
Exactly.
do to maybe be helpful.
Okay, thank you.
Carmen.
Alyssa, may I make a comment about scaffolding? Because Jack's building, which is at 74 West 94, he couldn't be here this evening, which also shares the same space as God at Riverside. There's scaffolding outside of that building as well. Okay.
Mhm.
And he's having a lot of problems with the elevators. Both elevators are always out. And he's saying that, there are people who are disabled, you have elderly that are waiting in the lobby to get upstairs. And he's consistently wrote letters to NYCHA, and sometimes the elevator has been out for days. And whoever comes to repair the elevator, the next day it's broken again. So if we could do something to address that, that would be great, because it's very important. No one should have to wait in the lobby for hours to get upstairs. I think it's like 22 floors in that building. And he's telling me that the elderly and the handicapped can't go outside, because if they do, they can't get back upstairs. So if we could, do something, that would be great. And there are problems with elevators at all of the buildings, to be honest with you. But I know he's saying he has a severe problem with the elevators breaking down.
What's the address of Jack's building?
74 West 92nd Street.
I just put it in the chat box.
Oh, thank you, Larry.
Thank you.
Okay, good. Yeah. But all of the buildings, 120 West 94, the hostels 201 West 93, they all have problems with elevator breakdown. So we really need to get on the elevator division of NYCHA to get people in this area on standby, because the elevators are old and they're breaking down constantly.
Yeah.
How long does it take, Polly, from the time that an elevator breaks to the time that it eventually gets fixed?
Sometimes it can take days. Okay. I would say the quickest turnaround has been like 6 hours.
Okay.
When a call is made, the ticket goes in. especially on the weekend, emergency services would have to come out, but say Monday through Friday, at least 6 hours for someone to show up.
Do we have a list running anywhere? I guess I'm looking at Larry now. A list running of elevator outages and their frequency.
Well, I know Jack has kept a list, and we keep, we document, so we can get whatever we have and send it to you.
Okay.
There is a paper trail.
Because these are high-rise buildings. Elevators going out is not just an inconvenience,
Yeah.
Exactly. It's a safety issue. It's
especially
dangerous.
for senior citizens. Yeah.
Yeah.
And
Holly, sorry, but Ramona, we've gone
Yes.
back and forth a lot on elevators in your building. So Polly just said that all the buildings are still going out. That in your building, is it because of leaks from the rooftop, or why do you think your elevators are going out?
Like elevator A, for example, has been going out every week. All right. I hear them banging on the roof. I don't know, they patching up there, whatever. I live near the roof. My bathroom is full of mold, so I don't know. And I believe that those parts, if they're going to keep it running, they need to invest in those parts, the waterproof parts for the elevator.
Yeah. Maddening.
I was
Thank
just
you.
going to make the point that so many residents have lived in NYCHA properties a long time, like a lot of housing in the Upper West Side. Some of them have naturally occurring retirement communities. So there are a lot of seniors in this housing, and there's children and grandchildren living there as well, but there are a lot of
Right.
seniors. So those elevators being out is very critical.
Yeah, definitely.
That's right. The thing that's bad is that you call them and put the ticket in to fix the elevator. A couple of guys will come. A couple of hours later, you'll get a call from the 707 numbers. Oh, this is to inform you that your elevator service has been restored. And it's the furthest thing from the truth. They're not restored. I know for a fact. I'm in a wheelchair right now because I've had some health issues, and I could tell you that people literally wait hours before they can get upstairs. It's a joke what's happening. And then when you go to the night, they say, oh, you got to talk to PRC. Why would we have to talk to PRC? They haven't taken over anything yet. It's a total joke what's going on in that office. And, people are just, there's no confidence. It's not even skepticism anymore. It's just plain frustration. And like I said before, thankfully for you guys that at least you guys listen to us, you guys help us, you advocate for us. And I truly don't know where we'd be without you guys, but it's a shame, Polly, Cynthia, these ladies, they go above and beyond what they're supposed to do. I know for a fact, I'm a TA, I know what's going on, but I'd be lost without them. I love getting my input from them because these ladies are knowledgeable and know what's going on. But let me tell you something. We need somebody that is dialed in to when they talk to the office and talk to the people in charge, they move their butts and get things together. Because I know for a fact in my apartment, I was attacked by a swarm of gnats and flies from that dirty water coming from another apartment. And that should not take a month. It should not take a month. I don't care what anybody says. They got to prioritize their system. And when they move to 201, I wish them luck. But what they're doing to the community room over there, just outright took away their community room, is not right. So I don't know. I'm at my wit's end, and I'm hoping you guys can help these people and help us to do what we got to do and help me. I got to think about the elderly. I'm 100% for the elderly. I believe that the younger folks can speak up for themselves and do what they got to do. But I'm really worried about the elderly.
Yeah,
So
thank
that's
you,
what I got
Ernesto.
to say.
I'm really
Yeah.
appreciative that our elected and representatives are here tonight, so we can all kind of think through this together and all be working with the same information and try to discuss.
Oh, I voted today. I voted.
Good for you. I'm going tomorrow, but good for you. We got to vote. We got to vote. We got to tell everybody. We got to vote. Yes, sir.
I have a question for everybody. Can you call 311? I'm sorry for my ignorance, but I am learning and trying to catch up fast. Can you call 311 for various things, or do you always have to go through NYCHA and the ticket system?
I can answer that. You must go through NYCHA and the ticket system. After that, you do have an option to report it with 311. However, 311 automatically refers you back to NYCHA's call.
That's right.
Okay, thank you. I was afraid of that. Okay.
Yeah, 100%.
Robert, okay, Robert?
Yeah, hi. Hi, Helen. How are you doing? Helen, I wonder if you can give us an update or some insight into these earmarked millions that are in HPD for NYCHA. And I don't recall quite what the number was at one of our meetings, but it was upwards of $14 million. And I'm not gonna dare say it was 90, but it was a substantial amount that is earmarked for NYCHA. No one has disputed that the money's there. The only issue is, how do we get it?
You're saying it's in HPD?
Yeah, Polly, can you spot me on that? Do I remember that correctly? That
There was money, Helen, he's speaking to the money that collegiate allocated for affordable housing in the area.
Yeah.
So
You want something from the
it's my
store, buddy?
understanding that there's $14 million left.
Yeah.
Right?
And
Yeah.
that was,
Okay.
that was earmarked for NYCHA, I understood.
No.
Right.
I don't know that it was earmarked for NYCHA. I thought it was earmarked for new affordable housing, but
That's correct. Helen, that's correct. And it's 14 million that's left. It was 50 million to begin with. It's 14 million's left. It was never for NYCHA. It was always for new affordable housing in the community. And that was part of the restrictive deck when Riverside Center went online. And some of that money has gone 5 or 6 buildings so far.
Yeah, I mean, I think Ernesto, to your point about voting,
things that we don't know about.
Yeah, I mean, at this juncture, you know, it's NYCHA is screwing the federal government, you know, basically held back all this money that should be going to NYCHA. And a new administration would change all of that. I mean, the problem with the federal aid, of course, is that you're the stepchildren of NYCHA because you were initially state funded and the state then withdrew all their money. And it's crazy that NYCHA treats the federal aid that way.
The building is not state.
It's crazy that they can get away with it, Helen. That's what's crazy.
Helen, to Robert's point, I think there was 30 million in the state budget that has never been, that was allocated, and I don't remember when. I have to go back to look at my notes. That has not come back to New York City.
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely worth advocating for that. The thing about the state money is that it's usually, you know, it's very specific about what it can be spent on.
Right.
The governor really ties, I mean, Erica's here from Linda Rosenthal's office. She can probably answer it better. But the experience that we've had is that it's always been tied to something, frankly, not helpful to the buildings. It's been tied to like gardening and stuff like that. But Erica's the expert on this. I don't know.
I am not an expert on.
Helen, I'd like to back
what each thing
on,
was.
Actually, hold on. Chair's privilege. I'm sorry. Two things. One is housekeeping. Whoever's, if you're not speaking, please mute yourself and then unmute when it's your turn to speak, because there's a lot of, it interferes with everybody else's ability to hear. So thank you for that. The other is, there's a lot of talk in the chat about elected offices and running for office and criticism of elected officials and so forth. The purpose of tonight's meeting is to try to get at issues that are confronting our neighbors who live in public housing. And the chair of the meeting at the top of the meeting reminded us that it's important that we speak to each other and to all of those here with respect. And we really need to insist upon that. And that includes the chat as well as what we're saying live on the air. So please forgive my interruption, but I wanted a reminder on that because we are all neighbors here. We are all confronting issues. I think a lot of us are having our hearts break about hearing about the conditions that we're hearing. Let's focus on that and let's make sure that that is the outcome that we end up with in this meeting. Thank you very much.
Let me just drive that, sorry, Roberta, hold on. Let me just drive that point home. Whoever continues being inappropriate or hostile in the chat, I have no problem removing from the meeting, especially if we warn you. Please be respectful. This is an extremely important issue. I know you have your own axe to grind, but this is not the place for it. Thank you. Sorry, Roberta, do you have something you wanted to add?
No, I'm glad you said that. Thank you.
Okay, thanks. Sorry, Erica, you were giving a quick response on some of the state money allocated.
Yeah, I was in the middle of a thought. I don't know exactly, to the council member's point, I'm not sure exactly what was tied to what. I know for capital funding, there is a new boiler that is slated for Amsterdam houses, I believe, shortly for capital, as well as the assembly member had capital funding that was given that I think amounted to, I want to say about $150 million, where we sat down with the Amsterdam Houses tenants and the Harborview tenants and went through all of the things that needed to be done. And so there were new doors replaced, new lighting, new lighting in Harborview. There were more security cameras that they had asked for and the like. So I can get more information on the other part. I just know that our capital funding had sailed through, and I'm sure there's a lot of other outstanding funding in general, but I just don't have that information right now. But I can get it to you, Mark and Melissa.
Yeah, thank you, Erica. Sorry, didn't mean to put you too much on the spot.
No, it's fine.
Okay, and then Polly, I think you had something you wanted to add in.
Yeah, what I wanted to backtrack on is the money regarding collegiate. Because as a member of the Housing Committee and a co-chair at the time with Nick, I remember that one of the recommendations that we made was that that money would be utilized, okay, either at Amsterdam houses in lieu of the apartment units that would have been lost, okay? And so my whole concern is that I have never seen the documentation as to how that process led to money being allocated to West 108th Street through Wishfish. And we are federally funded entities as well. And I know that some of that money went to a building on 94th Street, independent houses under the Mitchell Alma program, which is a federally funded program. So I did not understand why some of that money could not be allocated, as I said, to Amsterdam houses and the other complexes on the Upper West Side, because we're all federally funded, okay? So the $14 million that is left, all right, I would like to see that money go towards the complexes here on the Upper West Side, because we do need it, okay? And I would like to see the paperwork on what happened to the money, because as a board member, I've never seen it, and other board members have asked also how that money was spent and allocated.
Yeah, Polly, I don't know the answer to that. This is before my time. And I think we had promised in a previous meeting to like address this as a specific agenda topic. And I'm happy to do that. Roberta, and I know you probably have a lot of background in it. I don't want to get into it too much here. Like I agree with you.
I just want to put that on the record.
We need to look at the restrictive deck.
Okay, yeah, let's put that on a future agenda.
I just want that on the record. Okay. Thank you.
Thanks, Polly. I don't know that we got to all of our tenant leaders in attendance. Sylvia, you're here along with, who are you here with? I can't remember.
I think Margarita from Amsterdam Houses couldn't join with the video, but I think
She's here with me. She's from the Dome site, Sylvia Rivera La Prince.
Okay.
No, we're talking about Margarita Curette from.
No, I did ask that, Mark. I asked
I'm
who
sorry,
Sylvia
okay.
came with Mona Lisa. So, okay. Carmen, sorry. I had asked you to speak before. Do you want to speak now?
Sure. Good evening, everybody. I hope everybody's having a beautiful time. I just wanted to tell you a little bit of what we're doing. I have an organization, it's called Occupy NYCHA. There is just so much going on in these developments that I've gotten together with like 10 different presidents, and we put this letter together for Mr. Gregory Russ, the chairman and CEO of New York City Housing. I just wanted to tell you what we're thinking, and maybe you can elaborate or whatever. And it says, dear Mr. Russ, Occupy NYCHA is composed of 10 community resident councils. Our organization has been meeting for the last several months to discuss the options for these developments for their collective future. On a combined basis, we represent approximately 20,000 units of public housing and about 28 million residents. Most of these individuals are committed to the life and welfare of our communities, the place where we live and want to thrive. Over the decades, the New York City Housing Authority has attempted to provide us with a basic standard of housing. Many issues have prevented NYCHA from providing even a minimum standard of living for our families. The combination of burdensome bureaucracy, competing priorities, and the sheer scope of maintenance and upkeep, along with the resulting violations and essential deficiencies, continue to manifest in our housing developments. The city and NYCHA are right to want to redefine public housing in New York City. This process, however, must include the residents of those developments and what they want out of this process. As the resident leadership of our public housing developments, our primary concern is to our fellow residents. However, if public housing is to survive as a form of affordable housing and become operationally and financially viable, public housing needs to incorporate and on a fundamental basis, guidance and direction from the residents themselves. For far too long, the residents of public housing in New York City have been ignored and treated as second-class citizens. Indeed, it appears that individuals and families who are part of the homeless shelter programs seem to live under better circumstances throughout the city. While it is the goal of some of the residents to leave the projects, not all residents want to go. Many residents want to stay within their neighborhood, even if their circumstances and status of our family structure changes. The design of public housing should be not as low income, but rather affordable housing for the public. Whether people decide to stay or move away should be a choice that they have as a function of their advancement of careers, and not because they automatically disqualifies based upon their income levels. We intend to evaluate and rethink our developments too. 1, make better use of existing space. 2, to reconsider unit alignment and configuration. 3, to redevelop, resize our unit as appropriate for our resident profiles to better reflect their needs and a minimum standard of quality, and consider opportunities to offer ownership interest at these sites. NYCHA has invested hundreds and thousands of dollars in personnel to contend with issues such as quality compliance and daily operations. This management structure have not been effective. What is significant is that the residents getting together and investing in their development. The concept of cooperative apartments owned by the residents fits into the mindset of many of our residents. It will contribute to both the operational, financial stability of the development. It is also our intention to develop small town centers where appropriate within the free space of our developments to provide additional and diverse revenue in support of daily operations of the development. The upshot of this is to establish the following. A, the stability of the development financially, operationally. B, provide a stable environment for the existing population. And C, enable the resident population access to ownership opportunities, which significantly contribute to the operational financial stability of the development. And to accomplish this, we are bringing operational and financial consultant, engineering and architect firms, along with a legal firm with expertise in public housing developments to assist us in the following manner. One, the creation of a formal corporate structure to effectively manage, borrow, develop individual projects as appropriate and as needed. Two, establish of a formal maintenance structure which will provide us with appropriate prioritization relative to issues as pertinent to the management of a day-to-day operation of the building structure. Three, add on to the NYCHA's planning document to determine the best type of redevelopment process and select the type of developer necessary to fully and appropriately develop the properties, which in turn would enable a level of social efficiency and minimize substantiation associated with public housing. Through the assistance of NYCHA and related city, state, and federal agencies, secure the appropriate capital necessary to redevelop the individual projects. We believe that on a three-county basis, Manhattan, Bronx, Queens, economics of scales associated with the combination of all three projects will enable us to achieve some savings despite the distance between the various projects. As our final thought, we recognize the political nature of this process. It has become extraordinarily clear to us that, as it is the case with many other elements of society, we must take action on our own and determine our fates instead of waiting for the good liberal establishment to take notice of our situation and engage in meaningful action. As such, please cease any actions that you might be undertaking to place our developments in public trust and outsourcing our development for growth to an outside developer. To do so otherwise will result in us taking legal action against any such activity. Indeed, we would like to meet with you to explain our position on a more granular level. To that end, we will call you to arrange for such a meeting. In the meantime, please do not hesitate to contact me with any questions. Yours sincerely, Carmen Quinones, CEO of Occupy NYCHA. And I am extending this to all developments. If they want to join, they should, because enough is enough. They won't do anything for us. We have to take control of our own destiny and our own homes.
Thank you, Carmen. Could you share that with us and our committee?
I will be actually sending this to all elected officials. This one is for Gregory Russ. I wrote one for all elected officials, and we will be putting everyone on notice.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
And so, Carmen, that was really helpful. Is there anything additional you want to say just about urgent conditions I mean, you said a lot in your letter.
The only thing I can tell you is that, we have some beautiful people that are TA presidents that sacrifice their life, their livelihood, and also take away from their families. And they take care of the people in their development. And they're not being respected. There's scaffolding everywhere. I have scaffolding everywhere. It looks like, forget it, it looks like we're locked up, okay? And enough is enough. All I can say is this, is that we need to take control of our own development, and we can. In the 964 reg says we are allowed to have ownership. We need to look for those plans. We need to do what we have to do for each other. I have 10 different presidents that are on this program that want to do it. That's fine. I'm looking for more presidents because we need to do this. We need to stop them from doing pack and rad. We need to stop them from coming in here and doing what they think they can do. Okay. And the only way you can do that is by fighting. Right. So I don't, listen, nothing beats a failure than a try. Right. So I have to try everything that I can because my residents deserve the best. And I know that every president on here feels the same way. They fight every day and are being disrespected every step of the way. The stuff that I've heard tonight is disgusting. You got to go around rats. You don't have an office. I mean, all that is to hold you down. And elected officials know that that they have monies that still have not been allocated. Why aren't we fighting for these things? I'm not here to go against anybody, not anybody, but I am here for my residents.
Yeah.
And I know that every president on this call feels the same way. Most of these presidents are getting sick. Most of them forget about it. Come on. Just alone since March that I have been giving out food, I caught a hernia from picking up boxes, man. Really? I'm getting ready to, to see if I can get operated on. This is not right. This is not fair. It's not right. Everybody's getting sick. And people are laughing and making jokes and being disrespectful, even on CB7. You guys don't belong here doing stuff like that. That's horrible. People are really suffering. And I really thank you guys for staying on and really listening. Because I know that some of you really do care. And I really appreciate you guys. Mark, I appreciate you. Melissa, man, listen, y'all rock. But you know what? We gotta stop this. We gotta stop hitting each other over the head like this because our society is upside down. We need to start thinking about our children and our grandchildren, how we're conducting ourselves. Really. That's all I really got to say. Any president that wants to get on board with Occupy NYCHA, we're going to have our own, believe me, our own lawyers and everything. Please get in contact with me.
Thanks, Carmen. And thanks for your advocacy. And I mean that to all the tenant leaders on this call and those not on this call, obviously. Sorry, Roberta, you have your hand raised. Did you have something you need to add?
No, my hand was raised.
Oh, okay. Okay. Is there anyone I missed who, sorry, Louisa, were you?
No.
Okay. Okay, I don't see anyone who hasn't gotten a chance to give a quick overview. Sorry, Mark, go on.
Sorry, Lourdes Camacho from Amsterdam Houses is in the attendees.
Oh. I'm promoted.
Is she speaking for Amsterdam or?
Hi, Lourdes, I just promoted you. Do you want to speak on behalf of Amsterdam? I don't mean to put you on the spot if you're just attending.
Hey, Lourdes, it's Larry. Why don't you talk about all the scaffolding and the work that actually is going on down there? I know Margarita wanted to join us, but she's trying to join by phone. I don't know if she's been able to connect.
Yeah, she must not.
So can I just say something about Amsterdam Houses? Because the assembly member just wrote a letter yesterday for a tenant who just to, like, give a picture view of rehab issues that we face when we are calling NYCHA and advocating for tenants here. They had a leak 2 years ago that was never addressed. They called NYCHA, put in many tickets. They were completely shut. Nobody did any work on it. And then all of a sudden, the leak still persists years later. The entire wall has crumbled. Two tenants go to NYCHA, and NYCHA still does not fix the wall, even though there is a gaping hole inside of it. So the man sleeps on the floor in the living room because he does not have access to his bedroom. They call us in September. We get the wall fixed. We are getting their cabinets fixed, but it should not take people. It should not take people in NYCHA to call anybody to get anything listened to be heard, or to get basic repairs done. And so now we're fighting to get rental arrears back for them because they have lived in an inhabitable apartment for almost 2 years. He caught COVID in March and slept on a floor, and also has probably been exposed to black mold for however long after. And so we do a lot of work in Amsterdam and at Harborview. And so in the addition, and that's just a little picture of what just recently happened. But for years, it has been that way. And we have gotten money, and we have written endless letters to Gregory Russ and Brezhnev and the chairs before, especially when there had been lead poisoning. That was kind of just skipped under the rug there. But yeah, I just wanted to bring up the Amsterdam part since Margarita couldn't be on. And just so there was a global view of what was happening at Amsterdam. And yes, it's rodents and it's scaffolding, but it's also people are living in squalid conditions, and because there is not enough, because the federal funding is not there as well, state, city.
Listen, I did speak to Margarita the other day, and she kind of relayed a bigger report. There have been bad conditions down there, but there is actually a lot of money being poured into Amsterdam houses and a lot of work underway.
So the roofs are almost all like, there's a lot of work. There's good work happening. It's just that was just a microcosm. Sorry, Larry, of what.
No, but she was also making the point that some of the tenants are afraid to provide access right now because of the culvert, and don't want a lot of people in their unit, particularly some of the seniors. But the place is covered in scaffolding because of all the asbestos removal, and it's being done very comprehensively and across the whole place. She said the number one issue, though, also because of all the scaffolding and the shadows and a lack of lighting, is crime and safety is a big issue there right now. Weston Beef will no longer do deliveries into the complex. She said she had to buy a smaller shopping cart because the big shopping cart, it was too much for her to push back to her home because she's got a heart condition. So here's a little shopping cart and has to make 2 deliveries to get her supplies in from Weston Beef. So she said crime and safety is the big issue from her point of view right now. And that means working with the 20th and working with PSA and doing vertical controls and doing whatever it takes to make that development a secure place.
Larry, just to ask about that, I mean, I walk by Amsterdam houses a lot. There is some lighting, the city is required by law. Anyone putting up scaffolding must put up lighting. But if it's not adequate, that should be low-hanging fruit that we can go after.
Yeah, I was through the buildings myself as part of encouraging people to reply to the census. So I was in every single lobby and in and out of every entranceway to hang up signs.
Well, do you mean the inside or under the scaffolding?
Inside and in between the buildings as you go from place to place. It's just hard. You have to do it safely. So you need scaffolding, you need all the drapery to keep asbestos or dust from blowing around. So it's just a very difficult situation.
It's very dark. It's very dark there.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Larry, for stepping in since Margarita couldn't join us. Okay, I'd like to sort of pivot a bit to talk about, how the community work could potentially be helpful. A lot of these issues obviously need NYCHA's attention. Many, it sounds like, have the attention of our elected officials. And I want to think both on the micro kind of repair level scale, but also on the more macro scale of solutions that we could put in place to maybe elevate issues more quickly. At a past housing committee meeting, we discussed maybe some kind of working group for the NYCHA developments in our neighborhood that could include a representative from elected officials and from NYCHA to sort of just get everyone to the table. It sounds like, Larry, you guys already have some great infrastructure in place with how you guys run the Federal 8. So just to, idea to kick us off would be, is there a way to sort of attach onto that existing infrastructure and bring in more representatives? But also, I guess a fundamental issue to talk through with the committee is how do we get NYCHA to the table, which seems like such a roadblock to have them actively and helpfully participate in conversations. I don't know if any committee members want to, sorry, Roberta, I see you waving your hand madly, if you want to weigh in on that.
Yes, so while I was chair, Louisa, and I think you were involved, we had meetings with boards 9, board 11, board 12, board 6, board 8, board 6, and board 3, and I think board 4. And we had 3 or 4 meetings at different locations, and we tried to have a meeting with Greg Ross through Gail's office. It never happened. We felt that if we had, we had 8 boards at that point. We felt that if we had that many boards, we could actually make a difference with NYCHA. Unfortunately, it fell through the cracks and we never got the meeting. But I think, and each of the boards, there are only 1 or 2 boards that don't have a lot of NYCHA housing, but each of the boards was really interested. All of the housing committees, and some had NYCHA committees, some just had housing committees. And I think we should go back to that model. And I think we need to really put a lot of pressure both on the local electeds, the state electeds, and we had many meetings. Jerry Nadler has been very, very helpful. We had many meetings with Jerry. We've had meetings with some of the local electeds, certainly with Helen and Mark and Corey Johnson. And I think now is the time to really put the pressure on.
Thanks, Roberta.
Hello, can anybody hear me? This is Mary from Sandra Thomas. Anybody hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you.
Yes, we can.
Hi, this is my 6th call. I've been listening, but I have been unable to speak. So I'll make it quick because I'm waiting on cable tomorrow to fix the internet and the phone. I heard people talk about the elevators. Neil Myers, I don't have his Gmail in front of me, but he is the head of this elevator problem here. I can email tomorrow. I can't use the internet, but Neil Myers is the person to contact for elevators. And regarding Sandra Thomas here, we're a senior building and was built in 1994. One of the biggest problems that I find is that some repairs require contract work. And once it goes into contracting, you can wind up with a year later before there's any response. We have a situation here now where a worker broke the mailbox trying to get the cylinder out. The woman for 2 weeks now is waiting for a contractor to come repair the box because this is not housing work. So that's a big problem because...
That's why no matter what Trump does, Tom King Jr. passes back.
All right, Ernesto, I'm muting.
Please mute if you're, thanks.
So that's a big problem. Once they take it out of their housing computers, it goes into oblivion and it becomes contract work. And all repairs, they tell you, oh, if it's not a COVID emergency, they won't come. And they won't even give you dates for repairs for individual apartments unless it's an emergency like a toilet or a stove. And we are a separate contract here in Sandra Thomas. We're a senior building. We have tenants here who've had stoves for 26 years. And they come and they put parts in, and they even have the nerve when Con Edison puts a red tag on it to come and try and fix it, which they're not supposed to do. And then they want to bring an old stove in. So that's some situations here. But I can email Larry in the morning and give him Neil Meyer's email. Can you still hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you.
Okay.
Yes, Mary.
Thank
Okay.
you.
Thanks, Mary.
Yeah.
That was
Mary,
helpful.
I'm so glad you raised both issues. Yeah, it's mind-numbingly infuriating. I'm looking around, not sure. Maybe Polly was in this meeting. And Cynthia, hi, one sec. If Polly, maybe you were in this meeting where we were down at the central office for NYCHA, sitting
Yes.
around the table, talking about their systems for elevators. And
Yes.
I think it was a 2-hour meeting. And Ernesto, can you put yourself on mute?
Yeah,
Thanks,
sorry, Ernesto.
thanks,
I'm gonna
Steve.
have to keep muting you because of the background, but.
But we spoke for 2 hours, and Louisa, especially for you, because I can hear you're really learning and listening, about the NYCHA stuff. After 2 hours, I think I was more confused than when the meeting started. It just went around and round in circles. They say that the operation manual or the rules for NYCHA require that certain things happen. And then I'll say, and nothing. It doesn't mean they'll do it, doesn't mean they'll fix it. The issue with the elevators at Ramona's building with the roof leaking all the time was insane. And what we figured out was that if you put a waterproof box around a certain electric fixture, if you just had an electric box around it, it would no longer break whenever it rained. So we suggested they do that in lieu of spending, if I have it right, and Ramona, if you remember this, it was something like over $1,200 for the electric plate that they had to fix every single time. They had to replace it every single time it rained because every single time it got wet and shorted out. It's nonsensical over there, just nonsensical.
Right. So one of the things, if I could speak on that too, is that, communication is key. Okay. I think we need to have better systems in place. When you had your town hall, Helen, I feel that we had a better response in the short term, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
Because it basically focused on issues that were happening immediately that could be addressed. Okay. In regard to the COVID situation, we had someone there from quality assurance.
Yeah.
And when issues were raised about, the personnel who were hired to wipe the buildings down, that was taken care of. So
Yeah.
I just feel that it's better to work in a focus group, because when you have too many voices, too many boards, and too many people, you're not going to get anything accomplished. I do feel that a town hall or smaller focus group, depending on the area, but right now we're talking about Upper West Side. In this area, I feel that the town hall model is more effective. And then as a board, okay, you have all the resident leaders here. You have an idea of the issues that need to be addressed. You mentioned the elevators. That's something short term that can be addressed. But we really need to have communication mechanisms in place. There's no accountability. That's the problem.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
There's no paper trail.
We're
Right.
in the process of setting up that town hall again. And we told them that we were going to do it again, especially if these, types of problems arose over and over again. So we're in the process of getting a date with him. Yeah.
Okay, well, that's good. That's a start. So I'm just saying, as the board, what can we do? I just feel that, again, having good dialogue right now, Communication is key. Maybe write a letter to local management, asking, okay, this is the problem with the elevators. Okay, what's happening? Are you short on staff, personnel? We don't even know how many staff members are available, okay, to fix this situation in our area. We should have somebody on standby, a unit, a person, a division on standby for this area, because geographically we're spread out over 20 to 30 block circumference area, okay? One person can't handle if all the elevators are breaking down at one time, all right? So we do need something set up to find out how many times are the elevators breaking down, as you mentioned earlier, Mark, okay? We need to have information so we know how to address this problem and come up with a solution.
I mean, the one thing I'll say, because I talk with my colleagues, quite a few of my colleagues across the city, every NYCHA building that I hear my colleagues talking about the same thing. Many NYCHA buildings are suffering even more since COVID. And, part of the problem is that there's a hiring freeze on. So anyone who leaves, the position's not filled. So if you have maintenance workers who leave, who used to cover a certain building, they're not being replaced if they leave. And yeah, so, and the budget constraint, as now a number of people have mentioned, is in the tens of billions of dollars. And, the chair of the Committee on Housing is Alika Embry-Samuel, is working so hard to get them to be more cost efficient, more efficient just in terms of their management. But this is citywide, just, to give it some perspective.
Councilmember. Cynthia. Oh, sorry, Ernesto. Cynthia, I saw you waving your hand wildly for a while, so.
So let's talk about the small contractors first of all. All small contractors, whether they be roofers, carpenters, plumbers, all come through mixed finance. Ellen knows this. Up in Manhattan for Wise and for Amsterdam, that's Acting Director Carl Walton, who blocks all funds or all contracts from being completed. Now, going to Gregory Russ is not going to solve this problem. All Gregory Russ likes to do is talk about himself and his many accomplishments in Massachusetts. That's not helping us here in New York. If you want to bring someone to the table, you need to bring Vito Mussolino to the table.
Tell him, girl.
You need to pull Brian Honan in from NYCHA.
Yeah.
To get done. You have to know exactly who to talk to. Gregory isn't empty. He's just a face that likes to look at himself. Okay?
You go, girl.
Not and as far as contracting goes, if you can get this man to release the money, then it's going to go to the same contractors that has deals with, that do shoddy work, that don't complete, so they can come back again. As long as a contract is under $5,000, NYCHA bids out to their friends, these little mini contracts, and they do half the work. They say it's complete. Something breaks again, NYCHA gets to rebid with them again. And that's why we keep winding up with the same crappy work, because it stops at mixed finance, Acting Director Carl Walton. When it comes to the Wise consolidation, we have had 6 managers and 6 different superintendents in the span of 2 years. Every time they come here, they come with an agenda on how they're going to better our buildings without asking us our input. Lack of communication again continues to happen in the Wise developments. The only building that seems to be getting more care than the rest of us is the senior building. Senior buildings always get preferential treatment over the rest of the buildings, but the rest of us have just as many seniors occupying apartments as the senior building has. So
That is
you
true.
have management is not going to communicate with you. Mr. Walton is not going to communicate with you. You have to play leapfrog and go over that man's head, or we're never going to see any change in these developments.
Absolutely right.
He's not the right man for the job. He's not.
Excuse me, I just want to say something. And at one time when I lived under Wasura before I came to the dome site development here, we were able to participate with choosing the right contractors to come in and do work at the developments. And like she said, they don't speak to us about anything. I mean,
right.
And that goes to show you now the new businesses, everybody's putting up scaffolding, and that's some money that's going somewhere where no work is being done. And we know that there's no specific, I think, deadline on how long you're supposed to have scaffolding in front of a building. It's enough with all this homelessness that we have and the businesses closing in our community, you know, that we have to keep dealing with the same thing. You know, we're trying to have quality of life on the inside, and then on the outside, it's getting all rotten as well.
Right.
Well, they're making a lot of money off of this scaffolding stuff.
Sandra Thomas here. We have scaffolding here for almost 2 years. Not one bit of work has been done. The whole backyard is all fenced off, cannot be used. And I called this, Cynthia said this Vito Marcelino. Yeah, I called him personally. He could do nothing. He was very flipped. I told him this scaffolding has been up here almost 2 years and not one bit of work has been done. And he was of no help whatsoever.
Well, I gotta say that Vito Massacellas is a very good person, always hands-on, always hands-on. He's better than the CEO himself. And if y'all need me to reach out so he can reach out to, I would love, Mark, I will tell him to reach out to you. But Vito does, I mean, he's hands-on and he's always willing to talk with residents. That's one thing I can tell you.
I agree, 100%.
Thank you. Make sure
2
you
years
talk
here
to
with the
chairs of
scaffolding.
Vito talks all the
Carmen
time.
was talking to me for a second, so I just want to respond to say, Carmen, please, whatever you share, please also share with Melissa and with Louisa. They'll be the first lines of contact too, okay?
No problem. You got it, babe.
Thank you.
Listen, can I say something? My basketball court at Wise Towers got fixed a couple of years ago when the job supposedly costed $150,000. Okay. The job they did was so shoddy and so terrible that supposedly they did not pay the contractors $150,000. So I asked management, well, why don't you put that $150,000 to getting a credible contractor to do this work? That $150,000 disappeared. We never saw it again, and nobody wanted to give me any answers. So, you know, this is a crazy problem. I don't know what the answers can be. I listen to Carmen. I listen to Cynthia. I know these women know, colleagues. These women know what they're talking about. But still, things go down that it don't make no sense, because I used to work in the Department of Deeds, where they do all the bidding for the New York court buildings and all the buildings. I worked there for many years. And I know that if you low bid, you're gonna get that bid. And Cynthia's right. If they want to give the bids to their friends or their buddies or whatever it is, they're gonna let them put in a low bid and they're gonna get that job, and they're not gonna do the right thing by the development. So that needs to be stopped. It needs to be stopped.
And on top of it, they never have the correct people overseeing these people to do the work, where at one time they would hire people within the developments also, like community service aides, to oversee this job being done. I know because I was a community
you're right.
service aide with NYCHA.
It
Also,
happened over here. You're right.
you know, when we had work done, that Cynthia and I worked together hand in hand. And it's not happening like that anymore.
No. Long gone. Long gone. But you are right. 100%.
The worst thing they did was take the AROC committee out. Because the AROC committee, when we had the AROC committee, we were able to sit and talk to the people that were coming in our development so that we know who was coming in our developments. Right now, they're putting anyone and everyone in these apartments. The biggest problem I'm having now, and everybody needs a place to live, don't get me wrong, but I have nothing but young people that are in these apartments. Some of them, we don't know why they're there or how they got there, but these are the people that leave garbage and all this stuff in the hallways. I mean, I'm always on it, but that's beside the point. The point is that NYCHA is placing people in here without our knowledge. And if we are federal officers, every president that's on this call is a federal officer. And we have the right to know what's coming in our development. And that is not being done. And that's why I keep saying we need to stop the complaining, and we need to get together and take this over.
Yeah. Yeah. Hell yeah.
Thanks, Carmen. A few of my colleagues have their hands up. Roberta, I don't know if you still have your hand up or again have your hand up. And then same to Polly and Jeanette. Okay. Jeanette, do you want to, we haven't heard from, or Polly, sorry, I see you're unmuting now.
No, I think I had my hand up from before, so I
Okay.
didn't put my hand down.
Thanks. Jeanette, do you want to say anything?
I had put my hand up right before Polly started speaking last time, and she actually covered a lot of the comments I was going to say. I mean, I wanted to understand, like, who is NYCHA supposed to be accountable to? Like who? Because I think the lack of accountability is obviously why we can't make any progress. We know there's problems with funding. We know there's problems with the structure, the organizational structure and the processes and communication. But it just seems over the years that I've been on this housing committee, we can't make any progress because there's no accountability. And I've never understood exactly, like, who is NYCHA supposed to be accountable to? If it's not the mayor, who?
Mayor. They're supposed to be accountable to HUD, because this is where, where it all began, because it is federally funded, and they're not following through. We need people from HUD also to participate with all the issues that were brought there, from repairs to infestation, the elevator, everything, even part of ownership, like what Carmen was talking about, or, at one time when these resident buildings weren't getting fixed through HPD, the tenants were taking over their buildings. And this is what's going on in NYCHA. And now HPD is participating also with NYCHA. So, who's going to be liable? Like you said, who's going to help us get there? Is it going to be HPD helping us to get there? Because if they're not doing what they need to do as our landlords, and here we are spending our money, fixing our apartments, our floors, refrigerators, stoves, you name it, that we have to get somebody to come in here because they're not coming in, even before the COVID, what's going to happen? How are we going to get money back, as well? Or, let us own our place then, affordably.
So my thought was that maybe with hopefully, new administration coming in at the federal level this year, we could put together like some basic, I think some basic sort of principles for having direct communication so that we could start the conversation to address some of these issues.
Yes, well said.
Demonstration project.
Sorry, Jeanette, do you mean communication between who and who?
I mean, if HUD is who's ultimately responsible, then say, for instance, who is it, Sean Donovan, when he was like the HUD person, did we have better communication then? Could we establish some sort of a monthly meeting to start to develop a structure that trickles down so we have communication at the local level between the development and the issues that are happening on that site, at the community level? Like, let's start building on what the new structure will be, hopefully come January.
Yay.
Mm-hmm.
I was just wondering, does New York City have any input into NYCHA? Or do we just kind of skip the city completely?
Mayor has input into NYCHA. That's about it.
The mayor's the boss.
The mayor is the one that's controlling the strings of everything. Actually, the mayor is the one that's controlling the things of everything. And as far as
these people for their position,
as far as getting the electeds involved, it's weird because we are facing term limits and most of our electeds are going to be gone. It's going to be really kind of hard. All I can say is that we need to get together and stop complaining and do our own thing, girl. Guys, we got to
Helen said it best.
Ownership.
Helen said it best. She said we're stepchildren. We are stepchildren.
Well, excuse me, this is why the federal aid started existing. And this is what we're doing. And this is why more people, there is no more federal aid. We got more than 8 people involved, 8, resident leaders and what have you.
That's right.
Because we are, and we don't sit anymore with the Manhattan South with housing, because we were on that board. Polly would tell you, and because of us, we stopped that because nothing was happening there. Everything in-house wasn't going on. That resident engagement, engaged to what? For them to fulfill what they need to fill in their department so they can keep those positions going on with our federal funding money that goes there that we need to, be able to take over and control.
Well, as you know, I uncovered a lot of that stuff, and that's how I got rid of Mrs. Isaacs, because that was horrible when I was on that board.
We had a lawyer. We got rid of Ms. Bergman with an eye a long time ago. We stopped before you even came in.
Yeah, but Carmen and Mona Lisa, I'm sorry.
I'm sorry.
There's a lot of corruption.
Sorry to interrupt. I'd like to start guiding us towards, pulling out the common threads from what we've heard from everyone and thinking through, not that we're going to solve anything right this moment, but like some concrete next steps that can come out of this meeting. A lot of what I'm hearing is that we're not having the right people at the table, that we need to keep a hyper local focus, which seem like good next steps, and that we need some kind of way to communicate, some kind of set structure that we can work within. Some of the other pieces about accountability, I can't pretend we have the answer to that, but I feel like the communication piece, maybe the board and our electeds can be helpful with, and we can keep it very focused on the Upper West Side. Sorry, and I don't want to speak over my colleagues. Doug, you have your hand up. Is there something you wanted to add that's more in this kind of lane of solution-oriented thinking?
Yeah, this is a long-term question, and perhaps Helen or Erica can speak to this, but the question, I realize that we have an issue with 311 does not work for NYCHA, right? And my understanding is that we have a real black hole and void in the data And I guess the question on a legislative level, and perhaps Helen can answer this, or Erica, or whomever, what can we do to make sure that the NYCHA is included in the 311 system and vice versa? What can we do? Because I think the transparency, accountability, and communication piece.
Senator Serrano's draft, correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe there was a bill.
Someone's got to mute here.
Sorry, I'm gonna mute.
It's Ernesto again. Sorry.
I can get you from our legislative team. There is a bill, and I think it was introduced, I want to say a year ago, maybe a little bit longer, where they would, NYCHA residents would be enfolded in the 311 process. So that's not separate, because it's literally NYCHA policing itself and inspecting itself. Of course, you don't find anything wrong. And so I have to look that up. Oh, now I'm annoyed because it's on the tip of my tongue of who this Senate person was. But I'll get that for you guys. And I'll look it up tonight.
Thanks, Erica.
Mm-hmm.
Thanks, sir.
Doug, it's
I'm looking, Erica, so I think it was.
Oh, sorry, but for the, sorry, go ahead, Swad.
Oh, I was just gonna say, I think it's Bill S7798. It was introduced actually.
2 years.
I'm sorry. It's New York City Housing Authority and the Department of Information Technology and Telecommunications of the City of New York to establish a 311 hotline to receive public housing complaints.
I think so. I think that's the one.
Yeah.
So they could now, yeah.
Yeah. So I'm on the Senate website right now, and it seems like it was introduced by Senator Klein. I don't know if anybody took the bill, but I can look into it and see if it's been passed on to another senator and get back to you guys.
Thanks. That'd be great.
At the city level, we're not, it's, the city council can't pass legislation to force NYCHA to do anything because it's a federal organization, a federal agency. So, and similarly, we can't, as much as all of us have tried, you can't write a bill to basically tell the city to operate NYCHA, in a fiscally responsible way or efficiently or good. We're preempted from doing that.
Isn't there a way to unilaterally receive the data from NYCHA residents, even if we can't do anything? It's 311.
Well, it's a lot of work, and it falls on the tenant leaders, which, always, one needs to be really respectful of. But the tenant leaders do collect a lot of the tickets and work directly with the management of their building to get those repairs done and hold their feet, to the fire on it. Part of the problem has been COVID. And so those meetings that used to happen monthly with the management aren't happening anymore.
The fact. Thank you, Helen.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Have there been any
If I
efforts
could I jump in on that for a second real quick?
Sure.
Thanks. I just wanted to add to what Helen was saying, that let's not lose track of the fact that we still are in COVID and with the Get Food program, and it's the tenant association leaders who are tasked with getting the food from the truck to the people who need it, which is an amazing amount of work done by volunteers. And I hope they'll forgive me for saying not the youngest of their volunteers either. And so before we start adding tasks to tenant association leaders, I think we need to have a little bit of a triage. Thanks.
Yeah, I was just going to say the fact that these meetings, I guess it sounds like these meetings were those of just with tenant associations and their leadership. And have they been able to go online at all, or is it just too much of a digital divide to get a lot of tenants on these meetings?
That's exactly the problem. People don't have computers. So someone in the chat is sort of, who doesn't know about NYCHA, is saying to stop blaming COVID. But if you've worked with NYCHA for a long time, you know, there's a serious economic and digital divide, and you don't want to, you know, just have the people who have computers be
Right.
allowed to work,
Correct.
you know, with management, and
Correct.
that's not really fair.
Very nice. Very true.
And that our elected officials and Larry Wood and Guy Riverside have been totally amazing through this entire process. And I think we owe them great thanks. They have been frontline. They have been working. I mean, it's just amazing how hard they've been working to help with all of these issues without funding, without any help from outside, you know, and how frustrated we have been as a community board to try and help. And I really want to issue a thank you for Larry Wood, for Carter Riverside, for some of the other agencies, for Helen, for all of our electeds, for Jerry Nadler, for every state senator, every state assembly member, all of our city council members. It has been a yeoman job. You can't imagine how hard this has been, and it's so frustrating. I mean, you know, we know about these problems, and yet we can't fix them. And I can't tell you how frustrating that is. And yet we go to Helen, we go to Larry, we go to our other electeds, and they're there for us, and they are just amazing. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Roberta. That's really kind of you. You know, and again, someone in the chat is saying, well, just give people laptops. This is actually a very serious, intractable problem so far for city government. You know, we're trying to make sure that all students have access to laptops. And what the principals are saying is sometimes the kids get the laptops, or the iPads, but they have no connection to the internet. And then their parents, you know, sometimes don't speak English. And so the parents can't really, the kid can't get set up on the internet. So what's happening is that the parent associations at each of the schools are together, working to get parents who will volunteer their time to help the parents of students who don't have knowledge about this, to help those students get going. But it's not a small problem. And, you know, as much as the mayor wants to say that all computers have been delivered, they have not. As much as he wants to say that all of them who need it, the computers have internet, is absolutely not true. We're doing a survey now among the schools in our district. There are hundreds of students who do not have laptops.
And Helen, of course, we have 2.5 million New Yorkers who are food insecure.
Yeah. Yeah, thank you. And Community Board 7, I mean, really appreciate your having a whole hearing on this tonight. You can hear the frustration in all the TA leaders' voices. And this truly, you know, has been decades worth of problems. And Larry's done an amazing job pulling people together over the last year. It's helped to move the ball forward.
Yes.
But really appreciate the community board showing interest. And, you know, Mark, maybe we can talk about next steps offline.
Yeah, just to you know, add on to that, I appreciate everyone coming tonight and speaking, and I would love for this to be more of a regular thing, even if you don't, if we're not able to solve all of your problems right away. I just, the community board is meant to be here, especially the housing committee, as a place for you to feel heard and for you to be able to elevate issues and know that, your neighbors and your leaders are listening. So, if you can come some months, every month, whenever, I would love to make sure the committee is a place where you feel like we're listening and trying to elevate.
Us as the federal aid, this is what we wanted to do, and we will be here at every meeting. We were just having problems getting in before because I wasn't able, like myself, but it's been fixed, right, Mark? So far, so good. And this has been great. We're so glad to have been here, that you guys are listening to us on the issues that we're having, and moving forward, that we will have a solution. Thank you.
Yeah. I mean, I can't emphasize enough, and then again, sort of in response to some of the, I think, sarcastic comments in the chat, NYCHA is shortchanged over $40 billion from the federal government.
Wow.
When I started, the number was 30 billion. So these are not, yes, they need a lot of money. There's a reason the buildings are falling apart. And there's a reason there's no broadband. There's a reason there's mold and mildew. I mean, it's 30 years of neglect. So, I think everyone is trying their damnedest, especially the TA leaders. Walk a day in their shoes.
Yeah. Thank you, Helen. Thank you.
It's a big job. We have a big job to do to take care of this. It's not going to be easy.
Perhaps the new administration.
Sorry, Louisa. Go on.
Okay. I mean, what we're talking about is really trying to establish what the lines of responsibility are on the local level and on the national level, and to strengthen them and clarify them. If we have that, we would be able to get repairs done and just the things that make it decent to live in NYCHA.
Yeah, and I think like Erica has said, just to amplify or let residents know to, call our offices. I feel like just, I deal with constituents who don't have kitchen cabinets or who don't get repairs in a few months, but they end up getting them after they call our offices. I know it's unfortunate to take that extra step, but they do listen to us. So maybe flyering, I don't know, call your local electeds.
Yes. Yes.
That's right. Well put. That's what we have to do. That's what we have to do. We got to do it. That's it.
We got to all be together on this one and work hard together.
In that vein, I wonder if it could be helpful to kind of like combine what data the TA presidents have, so we can have a more holistic look on like whether issues are being addressed or how quickly, or I mean, I don't know if that's a Herculean task, but I don't know. I feel like things are so fragmented. Larry, I don't know if that's something you guys have considered or tried to do, looking more holistically on what issues are, or if Larry's still on.
And I think you're right. I mean, we certainly need more documentation and facts. A good step in the right direction, just so people know how many units we're talking about, what are the issues, who are the players involved locally. But this issue, and certainly homelessness in New York, these are not issues that manifested themselves overnight or decades in the making. So we have to be patient and in this for the long haul, because it's not going to turn around overnight.
Yeah.
We need partners in the state government and the federal government with the city to work with the residents and with community members to turn this stuff around. We have such a huge housing shortage and problem in this city, and we're spending a fortune on emergencies and using FEMA money because that's what's available. We need a commitment from the federal government to build and maintain housing. It's not there. And it's not going to turn around just with New York City. There's statewide coalitions that we work with and national coalitions addressing these things. We have hundreds of thousands of people not going to be able to afford the rents when housing court opens. We need new rent subsidies to keep people from, overwhelming the shelter system. So I'm not being pessimistic, because I'm telling you, we have a deep problem, but we also have solutions that work. We need the political will to get it done and the resources to get it done. So we have to work together locally, and we have to work nationally to really turn the housing situation around. That's what FDR wanted when the first housing was built on the Lower East Side. We saw housing as a right and not strictly as a commodity, and we have to live up to that.
Yeah,
Sorry.
that right has been lost for a long time.
They really need to follow that Brooke Amendment. You understand? And also that NYCHA has a lot of apartments that are empty, that aren't on the rent roll. That people could be moving into, that there's people double up on other people's apartment and their family's apartment because they can't get housing anywhere. And we want to talk about the Housing Connect right now because we're talking about NYCHA. But all these apartments, and they could be having these apartments, opening them up, and they're not being opened. There's a lot of empty apartments in Amsterdam, a lot in Douglas, a lot in Wise, not my development because we're only 35 units. People can't wait to get in here. And if they put themselves on the waiting list here, it's never going to happen. And you have all these other empty apartments available around us within Amsterdam, Wise, and Douglas. So you go figure.
Exactly. And we all need to work together. And this was a great meeting. Thanks to Mark, Melissa, and Louisa. And we need to do this again. Thank you so much, everybody.
Yeah, before we wrap, I promised in the beginning that if members of the public wanted to speak on topic, they could briefly make remarks. If anyone wants to do that, raise your hand. But again, if it's not relevant, then I'm going to have to mute you, and that will be that. So I see it looks like Tanya has her hand up. You should be able to unmute. Tanya? Okay, perhaps we lost her.
Yes, hello?
Hi, we can hear you.
Yes, did you call me?
Yeah, hi.
Hi, how are you? I can't
Good, how are
see
you?
you. All I see is you guys.
Oh,
You have a question or a comment, Tanya?
Yeah, Tanya, I just made you a panelist so we can see you. Did you have a comment or question? You're muted.
Mute myself and view myself.
Oh, okay, there you go, we hear you.
Hi, I was just wondering what the difference was. My first question, I mean, I had a few questions in the chat room, but my first question was, what's the difference with if they privatize or do cooperative with NYCHA? What are your thoughts are? Because it seems like the government is failing us. I mean, I'm all for government, but if they're not getting the work done, what's the balance, the equilibrium between that?
You're asking like the community board's opinion?
Yeah.
Or electeds? I mean,
What are you guys on the panel?
I
Because they have talked, I remember a few years ago, they were talking about buying into private housing and things like that.
I mean,
maybe that would bring more money because my rent still goes up. I pay enormous rent. And I'm still here in the same place, and there's people next door or the floor under me that are paying less money, which is fine. I get that. But they're not doing any improvements to the building. They're not even cleaning up a little mess. They're not even fixing like a broken tile. They're not doing like little simple things. I know about the elevator because I have the same issue as most of you guys have, but they're not even doing that.
Thanks, Tanya. I mean, we
That's
have,
that's where HUD comes along, you know, because they do these inspections every year, and they're supposed to notice, you know, the things that need to be fixed, like a tile or whatever it is, and come back, and they don't. You know, when they pick these apartments randomly of the ones they need to go to, and they usually go to the apartments where the people are taking care of their own, because NYCHA's not doing anything.
Yeah.
So, and we did speak about that, we, you know, and that's where I was talking about, where does HPD come in on this with HUD? Because you know what, they're the ones that are responsible to oversee these people that are working in NYCHA and getting things done for us. And if they're not gonna do it, how can HPD help us so that we can talk about taking over ourselves?
That's why I appreciate your comment.
That's the question right there.
I appreciate your comment in Carmen's letter, which brought a whole new light to the situation, which we think about, like we have to have more power, but they don't give it to us. They ignore us. They just don't pay no mind. And you get to a point where you just give up. I'm sorry, I'm new to this. I've lived here for 32, 33, 35 years, and I was busy with my life and my career and everything else. But it's like, it's a hopeless situation. And I love my building, I love my community, and Helen is wonderful. I've met you, Helen, a few times at the senior center. It's great, and I know you're trying, but what's another solution? I mean, we have to be realistic.
Yeah.
That's all I have to say.
Thank you, and thank you for coming. I think the committee should, you know, definitely think about, I don't know, looking into having a speaker, writing a resolution about exploring ownership in NYCHA. And I mean, you guys are all right. You cited the example where HPD has done this in the past of buildings that were poorly managed. And yeah, thanks for raising that.
Somebody brought up meetings. Can you hear me?
Yeah, hi.
Yes, my phone keeps going in and out. That's why I keep saying that. Somebody brought up meetings. I sent a suggestion to our manager because they do have office help over there, and there's no reason why someone, a housing assistant, which has the title of a housing assistant, can't call a TA president once a month and just talk with them, you know, and they can update them on the issues of their building. This isn't such a big deal because we can't have these meetings anymore, you know, and so I think, you know, there's no reason why they can't do that.
Yeah, thank you, Mary. That's a really good point.
That's a good idea. Good idea. Have a representative for each of our buildings, and we can voice it out to them instead of you, because you guys have to handle it. Well, why should you handle it? You got to look through the legal codes and everything. Let them answer.
Well, that was the purpose of this meeting also, because we do need them. You know, we have reached out, and we are community leaders that are doing this since you knew about it, you know, and then you come on board with us so that all of us together, putting all our tools in this and having the community board 7 backing us up on top of it, and all our official people that we have elected in to participate and help back us up with this. And we're working on so that we can have a solution to all the issues that are going on, whether you pay $1 or $1,500 a month, because you know what? HUD is they're still getting their money, you know, because it's subsidized. The ones that get it more or less, it don't matter. They're still getting their money. They're still getting the same amount. And it's a quality of life.
Yeah, but you guys, I see you guys as being a tenants association who's advocating for us tenants, but I want to see somebody who's managing the place, the management come on board and speak to us.
That's what we're talking about. That's what we.
Yeah, they should call. Those housing assistants should make a call to every tenant
or the management
assistant. Yes, but
there's
only one manager over there.
This is
but they have housing assistants there who could make a call once a month to every TA leader and just spend some time with them so they can relate what the problems that are going on and on.
Isn't that right, Larry? Can you please say something?
I'd like to piggyback off of Mona. We speak to our managers daily, at least I do. We only have 2 housing assistants that are currently consumed with doing the annual reviews for tenants. And to be very honest, there's nothing a housing assistant can do for me. They are clueless, and they have to run back to management anyway. So why should I spend my valuable time with a housing assistant when I could go straight to management with them, which I do every single waking day.
So do
Well,
I.
do you get a reply? I mean, the thing is, management is one manager over there. Does she reply to your every contact? I don't think so.
Problem. That's my problem. The management doesn't. The manager doesn't. I've done it before and I gave up.
Hey, I have her personal phone number. I speak with her moments. I don't need to go through a housing
This
assistant.
is where NYCHA comes in, overseeing these people being responsible for their positions and what they need to do. And yes, we do speak to them, and many times we can talk to them, and then they can forward the information to the head people in NYCHA, and they're not doing anything. So it's making them still look bad, whether they're there or not. So again, we gotta be we gotta get on top of HUD and HPD to get on top of these people to work on what's going on with the New York City Housing Authority.
Yeah, but our management should be there, just like our representatives are there. And they don't live in housing, but our management should be there to speak to us, to let us know this, that what's going on, because they're in
Polly's
between.
trying to say something. Tonya, Polly is trying to respond.
Go ahead. Let me mute
So
you.
what I was going to say is the takeaway for me tonight in tonight's conversation, because there's a lot of issues that need to be addressed and we can't do it all tonight, okay? And I want to thank you, for listening, because now you have a clear picture. But what I find as key is communication, accountability. I like Jeanette's idea about crafting some principles. Okay, we need transparency. There is an app called My NYCHA app that has a dashboard. So maybe there's a way we can mine that information and that data, because on that My NYCHA app dashboard, it indicates, okay, when tickets are put in the system online, okay? And we can maybe use that information just to get a picture of what needs to be done for our area, because I do know when I go on the dashboard, it'll tell me which buildings have issues with elevators, any kind of water shutdown, etc. So I think we need to think in terms of using that as a starting point to extrapolate a pattern for our area. So, we can start and take baby steps, I call, because we're not going to fix everything overnight. Communication, well, Helen has already said that we are going to have a town hall. We're going to continue to communicate with Community Board 7. So this is a starting point. And the Federal 8 Coalition, basically we work with Guarded Riverside. So I think, just tonight alone, we've learned a lot from each other, okay? And we do have a safe place where we can learn from each other, share and support each other, and coming up with some viable solutions.
Definitely. Thank you so much.
And that's my comment for tonight. And I want to say thank you to Larry, of course, to Helen and all the elected officials and all the board members. That's my comment for tonight. And of course, my Federal Aid crew.
They know how to close
Thank you.
really quick. I've experienced that, but thank you guys.
Can I say something, Melissa? Can I say something before I leave?
Yeah,
please?
of course.
Turn off your radio.
That's not me. I don't know where y'all getting at. It's not me. I'm sitting in a quiet room all by myself. My wife is in the living room. It's not me. Trust me.
No, you're okay. Go on.
Yeah, it's not me. But anyway, what I'd like to say, first of all, appreciate meeting you, Melissa. Hope to see you in person one day and talk and everything. Of course, my Federal Aid crew, Polly, I miss you. Haven't seen you in a while.
I miss you too, Ernesto.
I haven't seen none of my people in a minute, but I'm getting better every day, and sooner than later, we'll see. All you ladies are strong, positive women that are driving in the right direction, and I'm proud of that. I appreciate it. Larry, I love you. And we'll see each other soon. We'll talk soon because it's time to get medicated. And I'm going to say goodnight.
Thank you very much.
Okay, guys?
Hang
on.
I'll see you guys soon. Larry, I'll talk to you sooner than later. Mr. Dillard, thank you for having
Hang on,
me.
there's one more, I think, isn't there?
Yeah, I'll allow Erica Gerson to speak last, and then we're gonna, I think, call it a night because I am hungry and exhausted. But
Tired, right?
yeah,
Eat as you watch.
I gotta cook first.
Am I joining video or I should just start?
Give me a second.
I'll do it.
Okay, go ahead.
Okay, hi. Good evening, everybody. It was really great to join you, and I learned so much from so many of the speakers, and I want to just reiterate a few of the things, and I think there were some things in the agenda that didn't really get as much airtime, so I wanted to just return to that. But I really appreciate all of the specifics, and I think that this was a great example of a community meeting where we really heard from the people on the street about what the realities are in your local moment. So whether that's contracts that aren't getting properly vetted or calls that are getting complaints and then they get closed out when they haven't actually been fixed. So, sorry, I'm going to continue. So anyway, in particular, one of the issues that I heard that was raised, I think it was Mona Lisa Morales talked about the chronic scaffolding, which is really a challenge for the whole city. But in particular, I know it's being abused in NYCHA housing, where it goes up with absolutely no expectation that any work is going to be done. And my heart breaks for all of the difficulties within the building, but unfortunately, I don't think that most of us locally have the ability to fix it, but we do have an ability to change their experience of what happens when they step outside. So as she said, they're suffering in their houses, and our local neighbors on the Upper West Side are suffering when they step out. And in particular, as Mona Lisa Morales mentioned, that when they're scaffolding, we get the businesses underneath them are much more likely to close. There's much more likelihood of homeless coming in and encampments coming in. And it's just a very unsafe environment for everyone. And so I think those are important issues that were on the agenda in terms of safety and crime that need to be addressed. And we should certainly be trying to get more help with dealing with all the other issues with NYCHA, with the abusive spending and the lack of accountability. But I think that our community board can really step up and be a part of advocating that we get enough officers in and law enforcement and lighting and help clearing out homeless who are causing hazardous situations. So I just wanted to say that. And I hope that we'll be able to do more for you guys. I think it's terribly unfair that you're suffering with incompetent leadership.
Well said.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Absolutely.
Okay, with that comment, I'm going to thank you all. And I'm also going to say, I think next month we want to kind of do a follow-up and talk more about concrete next steps. So, you know, this is, again, the beginning of a conversation, and I really appreciate everyone showing up and speaking. So thank you, and have a good night.
Thank you so much.
Thanks for having us.
Good night,
everybody.
everybody.
Good night, everybody.